the actual act of traveling, like long haul travel, long days on the road, it can be taxing physically and sometimes mentally on the body. What are some of your top tips for staying healthy on the road, maybe outside of those routines? Like what are things that you would be doing to make sure that, like you said, your digestion's on point, your sleep's on point? Like what would you be
Right.
doing from like a strategy and technique point of view?
That's a great question. I love that question because I actually have a lot of clients, they'll be like, oh, I won't go to this destination because it's 12 hours away. And I think it's all about setting yourself up for success and modifying the modifiables. So, one of the greatest things I learned from one of my mentors, Susan Clinton, is your best position is your next one. Just practically, if you're on a road trip or you're on a plane, constantly change positions intuitively, even if you can't get into out of the car, which you should be making stops every hour or two at the most. Move your body, roll your neck, roll your shoulders, do ankle pumps, do trunk rotations. That is the best thing that you can do, is just keep moving. Try not to be in the same position for too long. That's one thing that I tell people. The other thing, again, is just set yourself up for success. Stay hydrated. Hydration is the easiest thing you can do to optimize your health. Thank God most of us have access to clean water, right? So
Hmm.
sometimes people are like, I don't have time to drink. I'm like, that's bullshit. Come on. I feel like we can all drink. And if there's no water where we are at the moment, we can plan for that. So I would definitely say stay hydrated. My easy, quick, and go to guideline for that is drink half your body weight of water in ounces. Also, just in terms of bowel and bladder, one of the things that I hear the most about travel is constipation.
Mm.
So, again, we have to plan for that. And if you know that you do become constipated, and it is very common while you travel, your circadian rhythm may be off, your routine may be off, your diet may be changing. Plan ahead for that. Make sure that you're eating lots of fiber. Make sure that you're bringing golden ground flax with you on vacation. I have all these little baggies with my golden ground flax and my psyllium husk, and it's just really staying ahead of the game and not allowing yourself to get into that position where now you have to start undoing things. It's
Mm.
all about being proactive. Another thing that I hear a lot about, and this applies whether you're on a plane or in a car or on a bike, is bladder issues. A lot of people travel and again, they're not hydrated, especially on planes. I once had a client who was a pilot and he said for every hour that you're in the air, you need an extra 8 ounces of water to keep yourself
Wow.
hydrated. So I thought,
Wow.
yeah, I thought that was such an interesting tip. But we do drink more. We drink more alcohol on vacations, hopefully not when you're driving, but that's another reason to stay hydrated. Bring some aloe with you. They have great dehydrated aloe capsules now that coat the bladder and make it feel less irritated. If you are going to drink alcohol, be mindful about it. Make controlled decisions. Don't let yourself get out of control, but then perhaps eliminate other bladder irritants such as carbonation, acidic foods, a lot of caffeine, which hopefully you shouldn't need when you're on vacation. But again, you want to modify the modifiables and make sure that you're staying ahead of the game. Did I answer
Okay.
your question, Kelly?
I mean, yes, and more. I loved it. And so the bladder irritation piece, can you talk a little bit about what like symptoms that might relate to or what somebody might be coming to you with and then you'd be like, yeah, that's because there's irritation there?
Yes. So I would say well, it's three things: urgency, frequency, and leaking.
Ooh, okay.
So, yeah, the lining of our bladder is lined with stretch receptors. And it's urination is actually a reflex. People don't realize that our bladder is not under our voluntary control. We don't have control of whether our bladder contracts, voluntary control. It's a nervous system loop. another reason to stay calm. Symptoms of urgency and frequency, by the way, are very, very often automated by the nervous system. So
Mm,
if you have urgency and frequency, you want to kind of take a look at the stress levels in your life. But urgency and frequency would be one of them. Leaking would be another. Again, when things like that happen, it means that your bladder is controlling you. You are not controlling your bladder, and it's probably trying to protect you because it's sensing something in there that's irritating. It wants to protect you, and it's saying, let me get whatever's in there out. So if there's a pathogen in there, to get it out. But that's something that we can control, right? We have to make sure that we're hydrating, we're controlling our bladder irritants, that we are not peeing just in case all the time, right?
mm,
We have a tendency to say, I'm just going to pee because I'm going on a podcast with Kelly, or I'm going to pee because I'm going to Publix. That peeing just in case, especially when we're on vacation, right? Oop, we're going to our next destination. I'm going to pee just in case. We're going to go into the restaurant for dinner on vacation. We're going to pee just in case. And that trains your bladder to give you a more frequent signal. The
wow.
other thing we don't want to do is have a camel bladder. We want to make sure that when we are getting that strong urge to go to the bathroom, we're honoring that. Because, I can tell you, I've had so many people that have gone on 12, 14-hour flights and they don't want to pee on the plane. So
Wow.
they're holding their bladder for 12 to 14 hours at a time. Again, that might be another thing that we need to prepare for, is bringing sanitary gel or the wipes for the toilet seat. But we want to honor the urge to go to the bathroom because we want to keep that balance and those signals of the brain bladder loop and pelvic floor all working in perfect synchronicity.
That's incredible that you just had so many light bulb moments for a couple of my family members where I'm like, you were saying things that people do. I'm like, I'm going to send this episode to them.
Right. I want to add
So
one more thing, Kelly, because people
yeah,
don't think about this. And my passion is educating and being on these podcasts so everybody has access to this information because it's foundational. But when someone tells me that they have bladder urgency, frequency, and leaking, the first question I ask them is how their bowels are, because constipation can be a root cause for these things. So again, there is so many modifiable things that we can do to set ourselves up for success.
I love that. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And I want to touch on something that's related to bladder, but something that a lot of people struggle with like you mentioned, some people won't go 12 hours away because it's a 12-hour time difference or whatever it might be. There's the portion of health which is like so controlled by the quality of our sleep.
Mhm.
And we can go into all the tips about how to, retrain our circadian rhythm to match the time zone that we're in. There's
Yeah.
loads of tips out there, but I want to talk about specifically, our kidneys and our bladders are on their own kind of time cycle. And so
Mhm.
when we're trying to go to sleep, let's say 6 hours away or 7 hours away, our bladder doesn't quite know yet, our kidneys don't quite know yet that it's time for us to hold instead of time for us to go. Can you talk about like that system? Because
Yes.
a lot of people get woken up a million times in the night because they have to pee and they're like, but this doesn't happen at home. I don't wake up to pee at home. I want to talk about that a little bit.
So I happen to think you're brilliant, because that's a brilliant question that I don't think anybody's asked me, in terms of, does our bladder have to acclimate to sleep? And what I will say is that we have been designed as humans to be so efficient. We are Our functioning of our bodies is mind-blowingly brilliant. So I guess the first thing I would ask them is, are they really waking up because they got the urge to pee, or are they going to pee because they woke up? So first thing, because a lot of people are in an unfamiliar bed. I personally, last time I went on vacation, I took my own pillow with me because I hate hotel pillows. If I have to sleep on a hotel pillow, I'm not sleeping well. And chances
Mm,
are, if I'm not sleeping well, I'm thinking about my bladder more. And when you're not sleeping as well, your body cannot make a hormone that we make when we are sleeping called antidiuretic hormone. So we really should not, our bladders and our kidneys, I think intuitively and hormonally will be regulated if we modify the modifiables and really try to get that optimal